When I woke up this morning, some things clicked together. It occurred to me that to be able to do all the things she's done and to create the kind of art which will be on display all afternoon. You're just seeing pieces of it. By the way, there's a beautiful quilt right across the way in Marshburn Library that she has done in commemorating the 100th anniversary of APU. Very significant symbolic little squares with insignia on them that suggest pieces of APU. I strongly recommend after you leave here, don't leave too soon, enjoy your time here, but that you really gaze at that and commune with that quilt. It occurred to me, oh, by the way, in another email she mentioned that she has put together 400 quilts. I'm glad I didn't read that last night. That was looking at some stuff this morning. To be able to do all of this, I'm working with the mic because I want to make sure this gets recorded well. She had to have depth. She has to know herself and communicate. See, you did help us with this. Yeah, okay, Susan, Carmeli, okay. You can't go through life as young as she still is and do so much without being aware of who you are, where you've come from, without processing on a deep level, communicating is the theme in her life. Communicating in words, communicating in art, communicating in love, communicating spiritually in all kinds of ways. Okay, how do you do that with such productivity? My guess, and I'm not a psychoanalyst, is that this is a woman who meditates and thinks deeply about issues, and that comes together at a deep level, and then it goes down, and it comes up, and it goes out either in words or in art or in gestures, in teaching, in an almost mystical way. I think I have her permission to tell you about her move. Do I? Okay. To Santa Fe. And that is, I mean, that's a hint. She hasn't told me this, but that's mystical Native American territory where you commune with the desert and the sunsets and the cacti and the mountains. And I can only feel that that is going to be a unification and a culmination of the various routes she's had to travel. I even drew a little picture when this inspiration came to me this morning, a circle, that's Ruth Anna. Communication is the core theme. From depth, using her talents, things come out of the circle, like words and quilts and these art objects. Now, that's as far as I can go today. I'm very happy to have you hear her speak on the topic, on the connection between communication and art, and we'll see if I've been a prophet. Thank you.
Well, I am almost afraid to speak at this point. Your expectations have been built up so high. But thank you very much for coming. It means so much to me that you are here. And it is hard to do this transition kind of lecture. It's been keeping me awake for the last 2 nights. I've been rehearsing it. So I hope it comes out the way I rehearsed it. One might ask why I'm doing this particular topic. And I think it's probably important to tell you that I did not do art as a child. I was not a child prodigy. Some existing art remains from my childhood. It belongs in an Egyptian pyramid because it's very flat. You know, the hamster is on the wall. And that's the only thing I've been able to find from my childhood. And I actually came to art as an adult. It's something that I found through church. A friend, a woman in the Covina area, used to do these toll painting parties. So she'd bring wood and paint, and you could figure out if you liked it or not, and all it was an investment for the class fee and the materials fee, but you didn't have to buy any of the materials if you decided you didn't like it. Well, I went the first time, and I kept saying to the person, I have no talent, I can't paint, you know, and she said, just come and have fun. And I went, and I had fun, and it was delightful. And I went again, and I went again. And then I decided to get more serious about it, and so I took a drawing and painting class from Frank Zamora here, who gave me a C. He's gone. Wasn't off to a great start. I mean, you know, I had a long way to go. And I recall taking one of my pieces home, showing my mom very proudly, and I'd drawn a leaf and I'd rendered it, and she said, "What the heck is that?" So, you know, it wasn't a particularly awesome start for me, but I persisted and took more painting classes at Citrus, more design classes. Somewhere along the way, I think around 1992 or so, I discovered quilting, and I really enjoyed it. And I think because it's a full body experience. You know, you have the smell of the fabric, because new fabric has a delightful smell to it. You have the feel of the cutter in your hand as you cut the fabric. You have the sound of the sewing machine and the rhythm, and that particular moment when the machine is going just at the right speed so that stitches are completely even. And there is that relaxing kind of meditative thing about it. In fact, when I make quilts for other people, I don't listen to music, I don't watch TV, I pray. I mean, it is the way I pray with my hands. And so it's interesting to me that I came to APU basically as a monolingual kind of person. I spoke one language. I spoke the language of communication. Some of you may know that I was hired not as an assistant professor with my PhD in hand when I came, but as a lecturer, because I did not exhibit the appropriate level of spiritual understanding that they expected from people then. I was a cultural Christian. I prayed a little, I went to church a little, I read my Bible a little, and I figured I had fire insurance. And that was not what they were looking for. Unfortunately, they had no other options, so I was hired about August 29th and started on August 30th or around that time. I was their last choice, and they were mine, because I was going to go to a big school, I was going to be a great researcher, and people were going to genuflect to me in the halls at conventions. God laughed. So here I am, 30 years later, and what I treasure about APU has been the opportunity to push those boundaries, the opportunity to learn, you know, to take classes, to sit in other people's classes and learn from them and watch them teach and learn how to be a better teacher because I've watched them in their classrooms. I feel as though I came with one language, but I'm leaving with three, because I'm leaving with a much more developed sense of faith language. I'm leaving with this language of art that came to me after I came here, and I'm leaving with the language of communication. And so for me, the topic of this presentation seems completely natural, because these are the things that live and breathe and move in me. And I don't know how I do all this stuff. I do sleep. I don't cook. You know, and that takes an awful lot of time. So, I mean, I have a kitchen because it came with a house, and I don't spend a great deal of time there because I find cooking to be a colossal waste of time. You eat it, and it goes away, and then you have dirty dishes. So what's the point? Now, it doesn't look like I find eating to be a colossal waste of time, so there is some irony in that, and I acknowledge that. I just want you to know that I saw myself in the mirror this morning. Okay, so. All right, it's going to work. Thank you. So why might communication and art be connected? I see them as having, and I realize I made my notes way too small, so I'm going to be looking very closely at these. I'm sorry. Scholars do talk about the art of communication. We also talk about communication, or art that communicates, and I think of them as occupying sort of the same space. You know, I don't want to say art and communication are two sides of the same coin, because that would make it really two-dimensional, and I don't see it that way. But I think that they occupy a space where conversation occurs, and that's what I want to talk about today. Those connections include multiplicity of meanings. You know, both art and communication can have lots and lots of meanings. They also can have give us some issues of intentionality, or bring up the issue of intentionality, which I'll talk about in a minute. And they bring up the issue of potency. You know, an image can be worth 1,000 words, as we say, but sometimes a word is worth 1,000 images. So let's go ahead and explore those. Let's talk about the multiplicity of meanings. I discovered to my surprise, that the word junk has more meanings to it than I thought it did. And I discovered that when I said very loudly to someone in the cafeteria, put up your junk filter before you go into that meeting. In complete innocence. And I was astonished to find out the last of the meanings it might have. You know, it means rubbish, it means refuse, discarded articles, junk, you know, like Target. We have a Chinese sailing vessel. We have drug slang. I wasn't really aware of that one either, but, you know, that's not my world. It could be an interjection, like, junk. Not that I've ever heard anybody do that, but that's what Wikipedia said, and we know that Wikipedia is the final word in everything, right? Our students certainly think so. And it may mean the last one. So imagine my surprise when my colleague said, you know, that has a different meaning than you may think it does. No, it was Frank and Brent, my good friends. And I don't believe I've ever blushed that much in my entire life. So, I don't think so.